Chef Elena showed us, technology doesn't have to always mean big machines. And technology does play an increasingly large role in the food and restaurant industry at every aspect. But we don't always have. It doesn't have to be something scary and totally artificial. It is about simple ideas that are already existing that we can combine to make something new. Dr. Yuichi Mori spent years developing polymer membrane technology for medical purposes. In 1995, he invented IMEC, the first membrane-based technology to cultivate plants without soil. Please welcome Dr. Mori.
Thank you very much for kind introduction. My English is not so good for the very short time presentation, and please use the translator. Okay, next slide, please. 私どもはですね。
So we have a rather interesting technology called film farming that we developed. And please show the slide. So in 2025, the world population will be 8 billion. And recently, we have seen global warming leading to soil degradation and the scarcity of water. So for mankind, there will be shortage of food or the lowering of the quality of food, and this is a concern. So therefore, we considered something to replace water and soil, and it's a film. Water and soil can't be put in your pocket, but this film can be put in your pocket. It looks like this. And this will replace soil and water. So show the video, please. Now, you put this on the liquid fertilizer. And if you think about lettuce absorbs water and it gets big. And on the film surface, you see that the roots it has taken root. And same way to make tomatoes, and this tomato has grown on the film. Similarly, on the film, you see the roots, and it grows in this way. And other than tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, strawberries, those kinds of vegetables and fruits can be produced with this film. So this membrane actually has two properties. It looks transparent, but actually there are nano-sized pores, lots of nano-sized pores, holes. So fertilizer and water can be absorbed, but the bacteria, virus will not pass through. Therefore, how should I put it? It is very safe. Because you don't use fertilizer so much, and also, even if the water is old, you can still get the safe tomatoes. In other words, the water loss is zero. If it's a hydroculture, you have to change the water which touches the roots all the time. Otherwise, it will go bad. Now, another thing is, actually, this film has the property to absorb water. And water and fertilizers are absorbed, but on the plant side, on the other side, it is dry. And this property actually is enhancing the nutrition of the vegetable. Next slide, please. So you have this kind of film, and you can make a small bag. And inside, on the left side, you see red pigment. And this red dye is, in terms of, it's the same size as the nutrition of the plant. So it can pass through the film. However, the black liquid. It contains carbon black, and the size is about the same size as virus and bacteria. It cannot pass through the film. So in this way, the film pores are precisely controlled, and that is our technology. Next slide, please. No, sorry. Video is next. So here, actually on the dry film, you see how the roots grow. And very thin roots, lots of very thin roots. And on the surface of the film, it attaches itself. And the water and fertilizers are absorbed, and it gets bigger. So you have the area of these roots, and compared to soil and water hydroecologies, is 10,000 times bigger. So that means that the nutritional level goes up. And on this film, we have grown tomatoes and what is known as fruit tomato, and we compare the nutrition. The sugar level is about the same, but glutamic acid is threefold bigger. GABA, this is important for health. You see it's 60 times higher. And lycopene, proline, again, you see it is overwhelmingly higher. So these are showing the very strong health-promoting functions. It's like a supplement that you eat. And actually, the tomatoes can be tasted in the afternoon at the craftsperson's corner, and there's also tomato juice made out of these tomatoes, so I hope that you will try it out. Another thing about this technology, you don't need soil, and also you don't need to prepare the soil, and there's no water loss. And watering actually is difficult technology, but you don't have to do that. So even amateurs, laypersons, can make very tasty crops without failure. And another thing is that there can be places like deserts that are sterile and not suited for agriculture, and it's there that you can have agriculture. Next slide. So here in Japan, a few years ago, we started this dissemination, and you can see there's a steady growth. Right now it's 80 acres and 150 tomato growers of 3,000 tons of very sweet, tasty tomatoes are being made. And Japanese agriculture is very conservative, but you see the steady growth. Next slide, please. So this film farming has been adopted by non-farming sector. 60% is non-farming sector. Farming sector is only 40%. So you can see that it's growing at a very fast speed. Now this is the area that was hit by the big tsunami. It's called Rikuzen Takada. You cannot use the soil here. So with this technology, we are growing tomatoes, and these are tasty tomatoes, this will also be exhibited in the afternoon. Also, China has a concern about the soil contamination, and so this has been adopted in China, and it is being adopted 10 times on the pace 10 times faster than in Japan. Also in the middle of Dubai, there's 5,000 square meters where this film farming is taking place, and here we did the experiment with tomatoes, and Dubai tomatoes are much sweeter than tomatoes in Japan. Yield is much greater. And why is that? The solar energy is very strong, and it's always a fine day. So for this technology, deserts can be a station for agricultural crops. And I'd like to show the video. The tomatoes that were made here has been adopted by the first-notch restaurants, and they are very popular. The chef is saying that he is using the tasty tomatoes in his cooking. And what I have just said is that by using this film, we can have good farming in deserts. Only in the deserts you don't have electricity, but you do have the solar power. That means Japan has as a good strength solar power generation, and there's no water pipes in the desert either. However, there's a lot of groundwater, but the groundwater is salty. So again, this is a Japanese strength of desalination that can be used. So this IMEC and the solar power generation and desalination technology are combined, and what was not contributing to agricultural production, the deserts can be made green. As I said at the outset, mankind is facing food crisis challenges, and if we can use deserts, we can overcome this crisis. Next slide, please. So this is my final slide, and actually the technology is a world first. 116 countries in the world is where we have applied registered patents. Green are already, yellow is under the deliberation, and Brazil recently turned green. Green is where it's already been granted. So this is a kind of strange technology, but I hope that you will keep it in mind so that you can remember it on certain occasions. Thank you very much.
もうちょっとあります。実はですね、このフィルムにつけたやつを実践のために持ってきました。うちの会社の副社長のドクター吉岡です。ですね、これがフィルムです。で、まず前。こういうふうにですね、これちょっと濡らしてるだけなんですね。ちょっと。
You see, in this way, it's just a little bit wet. And turn it over, please. So if you turn it over, it does not drop. It stays. And the roots are just on top of the surface of the film, and the film does not pass bacteria. And on this side, it's dry. There's no water. So it could be a kind of farm to fork. You could bring it to the restaurant, or in Japan, it would be farm to chopstick. So it is a very special technology. And so the farms, restaurants, the distance can be narrowed between the farm and restaurants, farms and the consumers. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mori. That was fascinating and very hopeful. Our final presenter will share his thoughts on introducing an element of surprise and whimsy to fine dining. And I'd like to ask Olivier Rollinger to introduce him now in his native tongue. His native tongue is eloquent. Welcome.
So we're going to continue in French now. Thank you, Patrick. Professors, experts, scientists have shown us something. We are hungry now. You won't like to make a break. We will not make a break. That's the news that I will get across to you first. There's so many things still to say, and Relais Cha has still French defects, so lack of punctuality, and we are sorry for our French friend, for our Japanese friends. So I will now call on stage a surprising man, an astonishing man. We are going to talk about something which is essential. We are going to talk about food, but we have to serve it. You have to get it across. You have to prepare it. And this contact of the eye, of the gesture, of the hand, the beauty of nourishing the other. So it's not only something which is to be made, it's something which needs to be presented, it's something which is to be served. I will now call upon somebody who is astounding, but just have a look at him. Alexandre Gauthier. Come on over. So, Alexandre, we were there with Michel Bras and Pierre Gagnard, and this is a new generation in France. This is definitely the new generation in France. And what is extraordinary is that this guy, without Michelin, he is more known or better known than a 3-star in France. In France, he's a star, he's an international star. He's going beyond all the codes. He's upsetting everything. He interpellates us. He can be annoying, but he's so interesting. He's so interesting. And we are not going to talk about cuisine, and there's so many things that he could say about cuisine, because it's a really amazing cuisine as well that he's practicing. But it is servings that we are going to talk about, and tell you what is this? Well, this is a menu. This is a menu at the Grenouillère in France. That's correct. A piece of paper. You can even have it creased and crumpled. That's what people say. No, this is not the right way of. So this is different. So it's simply a menu. So that's what we call it. It's a menu, but it's a message. It's a message that we give to our guests. It's the first contact. It's the first connection. You have decided together with us. We are going to tell you how this will go. So it is a relay. It is a connection. It is a piece of paper which is printed every day, which is fragile because it is printed on so-called Bible paper or Pleiad paper, a very special paper. And it is a new one every morning, every lunch, every evening, and it is renewed every week. So why is it crumpled? And why does it crease? Because it's not static. It's something which is moving. It takes light. It takes shadow. It is imperfect. And this is what it makes it beautiful. It's the charm of beauty that it is imperfect. So perfection, Barbie, is not beautiful for me. It is not the perfect beauty. She's perfect, but she's certainly not beautiful. So Alexandre even talks more than I do, if you can imagine that. And you always have to detach it. So you have to. So it's something which is addressing a table, a person. So there's no competition here. We don't want to be different or better than others. We want to show our own identity. We simply do not want to do better than everybody else. And this is normally the case in hotellerie and restaurants. So it's something which there are constraints which are imposed on us. So we are in professions which are judged every day by guides, by critiques, where we place a game, but we should not be concerned about it. You should have your own life, because it's something which needs all your efforts. You need to give everything to be successful. But if we have too many constraints, and if there are expectations which will come or do not come, we would have a different stance on it. So I refused, and I give this up in 14 years. I gave it right now at the beginning. Let me just read it out. We should at least see what is on this menu. So there are some drawings. Maybe we can see it as a drawing. So we have croissant, we have leaves of pears, we have haddock, we have red onions, we have pierrot, we have hazelnuts, we have lamb, so celeriac, prunes, cacao, and vinegar. Well, so I'm of course we have to be the identity of a property, but what is most important for me is humility. The chefs who worked at the Grenouillère, I'm one of them. I am passing from one tradition to the next. So it has been passed to me. I will pass it on to somebody else. And this fragility and this instability I have. This humility, it is very important. I'm only transitional, and the terroir will be there after me. The property will be there after me, and I try to propose to the guests what we are. I try to reflect what the men, the women around me reflect. We inject everything into this project, the Grenouillère, into this restaurant. In the approach to freedom, to liberty in your property, when we talk about innovation, and I always say that we shouldn't change anything. Everything needs to be reinvented, not changed, but reinvented, innovated. And you need to know first what the heritage is, what the past is. We need to find out what the present is, and then we have to find a way. It's not very easy, but freedom is like you say, it's the first approach. But what is it? It is not a certainty. It is not something which is established. We need to reject the conformism, and so you have to get over this hurdle, and then you have an opening which is simply enormous. Well, you said this sentence: before finding solutions, you must be able to ask questions. Well, everybody works on answers, but you should not look for the answer. You should look for the questions. Which are the questions one should ask? Which are the questions we do not want to ask? Which are the questions that one never asks? So if you find the question, it is easier to find the answer. So and you can make progress, you can move forward. And we are in a perpetual movement, and you need to have total humility. Nothing is acquired. Everything needs to be questioned. Everything needs to be challenged. Everything will be questioned, will be changed after me. You build a life, you build a house, and in a short lapse of time. We have spoke about this. Buddhism has really convinced me yesterday. So that's exactly what we want to do in France as well. I listened to the monk very attentively. Well, to come back down to earth, so to speak, we, as the question said, as chefs, we ask ourselves, as restaurateurs, we ask ourselves, the cuisine has evolved. We talk a lot about it. Sometimes it is influenced, sometimes it is turned upside down. But the service lags behind, doesn't it? Maybe it lags behind, in particular in Europe. And this is why it is so difficult to find young people who are ready to work with the chef and serve with the chef. Well, it was codified. Service was codified, like Escoffier had a codified cuisine, and nobody has tried to get out of it. In the dining rooms, there is a protocol which is very basic, which is complied with certain certitudes, with certain certainties. And I believe that my dining room teams and we always have this barrier between the dining room and the kitchen. But we only have one team. It's only one team. It's not the service and so it is the artisans and the actors for the moment. so my plate can be 90% finished in the kitchen, but then it has to be taken to the table. How is it deposited? Not posed, but deposited on the table. It's a service. It's not a service, but it is service is servitude. It's like a helper. It's like a slave taking it to the table, but no, it is also a real service that is provided. And my dining room staff does not have this feeling to be below everybody else. The guest is no longer the king or the queen. We have to give that concept up. So it's not because they pay that we become the slaves to the guests, and we must refuse this categorization. So it is not a theater. The dining room is not a theater. That's not what I want. That's not what is possible. So playing means actors, and we have learned to provide service, but service is not theater. It's not performing, because performing would be performing a role which you are not impersonating. So you have to use the right tone and at the right time. I have 33 salaried people. I have 11 foreigners with 9 different nationalities. They have all the way to express themselves, to move, to have a proximity to the people, to talk to the people, to deal with the people. If I try to clone them, if I tell them just keep your hand behind your back, and then they come into a role which is not their role, which they have not learned, which they do not want to impersonify, and we have to to go forward. You said that rather serving, accompanying, so it's a complicity. It says they are accomplices to serve good fortune and luck. So we should not talk about service. We should talk about complicity and accompaniment. So what do we provide for the guests? So it's like the menu. Of course, if they don't like the way you do it, you have to explain it. It's like the Buddhist monk explained it. Nothing is for free, but not in a pecuniary term. Everything is thought through, but everybody plays his role and takes up his part. And then you adapt to it. And the dining room staff, the people who are around me, they are the artisans of the moment, like the chefs. They are there to work and not to do anything else. So talking about how the chef goes to a new market, he has a new product that he finds on the market, something fascinating, creative that he creates. That the dining room staff have to get out of their routine. It's a movement. It must be a different movement. This perpetual, this permanent evolution in the day-to-day. Not simply saying, well, we have a new menu. So what is your approach? You have a very special approach. Well, the guests come to us and they have a certain expectation, but they come with energy and envy, and so we have to give them this energy. We have to give them this pleasure, so that they experience our property. And we work. I am the chef. I'm the owner of this property, but I'm the leader. I'm a locomotive in creating this movement, and this movement nurtures the soul of the Grenier. So I'm not the only one to take off, but everybody is growing with me at the same time. What does it mean, growing? So we need to explain that the world doesn't stop at the dining room, at the cuisine, or at the garden, but there are many other things. The chefs, why are they the big chefs of today, and why will they be the big chefs of tomorrow? And to your relationship with the artists, so it's also philanthropy. We can say, well, we have a margin of time, so we invest in time. But we are also commercially oriented. That's a reality. But it must also be something which, we're talking about the right tone. So this is exactly what we need. It's the right approach. We need to welcome people. So I have poets, dreamers, artisans who come to see me in my place. It's not the return on investment which guides my decisions. So we have a good years and we have a worse year, and everything goes up and down. But you have to generate life actions which nurture the team in the kitchen, in the dining room, and send the guests. Then you create emotions, you create a craving, and so it's a project of life and not operating a restaurant. So you are an artisan, you are a craftsman, even it's long term, because you are already the son of your dad passed on your property, you destroyed, so to speak, everything, and you have also turned upside down the codes of the business. So your priority is not to make more money. So it's never enough. It's never enough. Of course, it's never enough. So things have to be done. Things are in movement. I have examples. Michel Bras, you have done it before me, and so you have to move. You have to believe in a terroir, in a region, and you have to, first of all, be sure that you are at your place. You have to have a personality. You have to be absolutely straight about what you have on the plate, and we need to come to a conclusion. So we find the terms that we have pronounced yesterday already: Shintoism, simplicity, clarity, and straightness, honesty, sincerity, and taking time. But let's utopia. Utopia is very important. You need to dare things, dare doing things. You need to dare taking risks. And then you have to dream. You have to hope, and then implement and do. But Pierre Rabhi, a French thinker, has said that in the utopias of today you find the solutions of tomorrow. Well, repeat it. So in the utopias of today, you will find the solutions of tomorrow. Alexandre, thank you very much. You make us dream with your eyes of a kid. It's simply wonderful.
Clearly, there's been a lot of stimulation. And while we have to relinquish the stage and allow Philippe to close this session, we'd like you to consider that it's still open for the remainder of the Congress. And you have access to all these fascinating people. And we hope that the dialogue will continue on and on into next year. So thank you. And please thank all the speakers collectively for us.
So this is the end of our conference. I want to extend a heartfelt thank to all our speakers this morning who have shared their views on the influence of Japan and on the future of food. I hope this conference has given you food for thought. I am sure that many of you are curious to know more. And
Chef Eleno showed us technology doesn't have to always mean big machines. And technology does play an increasingly large role in the food and restaurant industry at every aspect. But we don't always have. It doesn't have to be something scary and totally artificial. It is about simple ideas that are already existing that we can combine to make something new. Dr. Yuichi Mori spent years developing polymer membrane technology for medical purposes. In 1995, he invented IMEC, the first membrane-based technology to cultivate plants without soil. Please welcome Dr. Mori.
Thank you very much for kind introduction. My English is not so good for the very short time presentation, and please use the translator. Okay, next slide, please. 私どもはですね
So we have a rather interesting technology called film farming that we developed. And please show the slide. So in 2025, the world population will be 8 billion, and recently we have seen global warming leading to soil degradation and the scarcity of water. So for mankind, there will be shortage of food or the lowering of the quality of food, and this is a concern. So therefore, we considered something to replace water and soil, and it's a film. Water and soil can't be put in your pocket, but this film can be put in your pocket. It looks like this. And this will replace soil and water. So show the video, please. Now, you put this on the liquid fertilizer, and if you think about lettuce absorbs water and it gets big. And on the film surface, you see that the roots it has taken root. And same way to make tomatoes, and this tomato has grown on the film. Similarly, on the film, you see the roots, and it grows in this way. And other than tomatoes, cucumbers, melons, strawberries, those kinds of vegetables and fruits can be produced with this film. So this membrane actually has two properties. It looks transparent, but actually there are nano-sized pores, lots of nano-sized pores, holes. So fertilizer and water can be absorbed, but bacteria, virus will not pass through. Therefore, how should I put it? It is very safe because you don't use fertilizer so much, and also, even if the water is old, you can still get the safe tomatoes. In other words, the water loss is zero. If it's a hydroculture, you have to change the water which touches the roots all the time. Otherwise, it will go bad. Now, another thing is actually this film has the property to absorb water. And water and fertilizers are absorbed, but on the plant side, on the other side, it is dry. And this property actually is enhancing the nutrition of the vegetable. Next slide, please. So you have